Picture this: August 1976, the Allagash Wilderness Waterway in northern Maine. For Jack, Jim, Chuck, and Charlie are on the adventure of a lifetime. Two twin brothers and their two art school buddies, canoeing, camping, and soaking in the untouched beauty of the wild. They were experienced outdoorsmen, seeking a break from city life, a peaceful escape into nature. For the first few days, that's exactly what they got. Crisp air, calm waters, and the quiet serenity of the forest. Little did they know, their tranquil trip was about to take a turn into the truly bizarre, marking the beginning of one of the most compelling and controversial UFO abduction cases in history. Their journey had been idyllic. They spent their days paddling down the river and their nights under a blanket of brilliant stars. Far from any city lights, on the evening of August 26, they decided to do some night fishing on Eagle Lake. They built a large bonfire on the shore to guide them back, then paddled their canoe out into the darkness. The lake was a mirror, reflecting the star-dusted sky. Everything was peaceful, just the gentle lapping of water against the canoe and the distant crackle of their fire. But then, something shattered the tranquility. Hanging in the sky above the trees was a light. It wasn't a star, a plane, or a helicopter. It was a massive, silent, glowing orb. The light was incredibly bright, pulsing with colors. Red, green, and a yellowish white tan seemed to be about the size of a large truck. The men watched it, mesmerized and confused. What could it be? After a few minutes of stunned silence, one of them, I believe it was Chuck, grabbed a powerful flashlight and flashed it towards the object. It was a simple, curious signal, a hello to whatever was out there. They never expected a response, but they got one. Instantly, the moment the flashlight beam hit the orb, it began to move. Not slowly, but with incredible speed, directly towards them. The massive, silent light shot across the sky, closing the distance in seconds. Panic set in. This was no ordinary aircraft. The four friends started paddling for their lives, a frantic scramble back towards the shore. The object was now almost directly on top of them, bathing their canoe and the surrounding water in an eerie, otherworldly light. One of the men, Jack, later described it as being like a movie projector beam, but one that felt solid, almost physical. They paddled with all their might, their hearts pounding in their chests, and then, nothing. The next thing they knew, they were back on the shore, standing beside their bonfire. But something was terribly wrong. The massive bonfire they had built, which should have been roaring for hours, had burned down to embers, as if much more time had passed than they had experienced. They felt disoriented, with a strange, foggy gap in their memories. They remembered the light, the chase, and the terror. But the moments between paddling frantically and finding themselves back on shore were a complete blank. Shaken and confused, they packed up their gear in a hurry and went to sleep, trying to push the unnerving experience out of their minds. The rest of their trip was shadowed by the event. They didn't talk about it much, each man trying to rationalize what he had seen. Maybe it was a weather balloon, a secret military craft, or just their eyes playing tricks on them in the dark. They finished their vacation and went back to their normal lives, each trying to forget the strange night on Eagle Lake. But the memory, or lack thereof, lingered. The incident had planted a seed of unease that would slowly grow over the coming years. Years passed. The four friends went their separate ways, but they were all haunted by the same thing: terrifying nightmares. They weren't just bad dreams. They were vivid, recurring visions of strange beings with large heads and huge, dark, almond-shaped eyes. They dreamt of being in a sterile, brightly lit room, paralyzed on some kind of table, being examined by these non-human entities. The dreams were so intense and felt so real that they caused severe anxiety and sleep disturbances for all of them. For years, they suffered in silence, unaware that their friends were experiencing the exact same nocturnal terrors. Finally, in 1988, 12 years after the incident, Jim had a particularly violent nightmare, and a subsequent physical reaction that prompted him to reach out to a UFO researcher named Ray Fowler. Fowler, a well-respected investigator, suggested that the men might benefit from hypnotic regression to explore the missing time and the source of their shared nightmares. One by one, under the guidance of a trained therapist, the men were placed into a hypnotic state, and the story that emerged was chillingly consistent. Under hypnosis, each man independently recalled the same terrifying sequence of events. They remembered the beam of light from the UFO engulfing their canoe, lifting them out of the water and into the craft. They described being taken to a stark, white room. There, they were stripped of their clothes and forced onto examination tables. They were paralyzed, able to see and hear, but unable to move or speak. Standing over them were the beings from their nightmares. Classic gray aliens. Small bodies, large, hairless heads, and huge black, unblinking eyes that seemed to stare right through them. The men recounted how these beings conducted a series of painful and humiliating physical examinations. They took skin and fluid samples. They used strange, metallic instruments to probe and scan their bodies. The men recalled feelings of intense fear, helplessness, and a profound sense of violation. They could feel everything but were powerless to resist. It was a cold, clinical, and completely unemotional procedure. After the examination, their memories were seemingly wiped, and they were returned to their canoe, which was now back near the shore. The entire ordeal, which they had no conscious memory of, had taken several hours, explaining why their bonfire had burned down to nothing. The detailed, corroborating accounts from 4 separate witnesses, brought forth under hypnosis, made the Allagash abduction one of the most credible and well-documented cases of its kind. The men even passed lie detector tests. Ray Fowler published his findings in a book called The Allagash Abductions, and the story became a cornerstone of UFO lore. It was a textbook case, multiple witnesses, missing time, physical evidence in the form of the burned-out fire, and repressed memories recovered through hypnosis. For believers, it was undeniable proof of alien visitation and abduction. However, the story doesn't end there. As with any extraordinary claim, this one came with its share of controversy and skepticism. Critics of hypnosis argue that it can create false memories, that the therapist can unintentionally lead the subject, or that the person's own imagination and knowledge of UFO tropes can fill in the gaps. They suggested that the men, already primed by a strange light in the sky, could have constructed a shared fantasy under the influence of hypnosis. The case took another dramatic twist decades later. In 2016, on the 40th anniversary of the event, one of the 4 men, Chuck Rack, publicly recanted parts of the story. He claimed that while they did see a strange light, which he believed was from a nearby military helicopter, the abduction part was a complete fabrication. He said the group had embellished the story over the years, partly for financial gain, and partly because they got caught up in the fantasy. He even suggested that he and the others had conspired to make up the details. This bombshell threw the entire case into question. If one of the key witnesses was now calling it a hoax, what did that mean for the others? Well, the other 3 men, the twin brothers, Jack and Jim Weiner, and Charlie Foltz, have steadfastly stuck to their original story. They maintain that their experiences were real, that the trauma was real, and that Chuck's recantation is a betrayal born of personal issues. They point out that for years, Chuck was just as adamant about the abduction as they were. Why the sudden change of heart after 4 decades? So, where does that leave us? The Allagash abduction remains a deeply polarizing case. Is it a fabricated tale that spiraled out of control? A modern campfire story for the UFO age? Or is it a genuine, terrifying account of 4 men who encountered something beyond our understanding in the remote wilderness of Maine? Was one man lying then, or is he lying now? Or are the other 3 still caught in a shared delusion? The truth remains as elusive as the strange light they saw over Eagle Lake. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, the deepest mysteries aren't found in the distant stars, but in the dark woods and the even darker corners of human memory. What do you think really happened that night? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy diving into strange and unexplained mysteries like this one, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.